All right, welcome back to the channel, y'all. What do you think about that intro? Yeah, put the 84 on the track. So this is kind of a wrap-up video. I appreciate y'all's patience. I've been excited to get it on the track and to see what it's going to do. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. Just stay with me. I thought what we would do is kind of wrap this project up on, I generally do all of my projects that way. If you're new to the channel, welcome. But I try to explain the choices I made, what costs were involved, why I dig these old machines out. One, I just enjoy that. I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy finding the parts. I enjoy getting out and meeting people. I enjoy figuring stuff out. I've never worked on one of these before. It was all new to me. But the mechanics, the basic mechanics are the same. They're all similar in some regards. And with the internet like it is, y'all, there's really no excuse. You can download the manual for free. You can go to websites like partzilla.com and Rocky Mountain ATV. They've got the schematic. You can look at it and go, oh, okay, this goes here and that goes there. And if that's not enough, you can always reach out to the local forums, you know, on Facebook or on the internet, threewheelerworld.com or Honda Hoarders or ATC Collectors. You can find specific groups for whatever specific machine you have. It doesn't even have to be generalized information. There are air-cooled 250R groups out there. There's probably 10 of them. You get into one of those and introduce yourself, and there's a world of knowledge there. And you know, it's free for the taking. If you are passionate about a three-wheeler, there is no reason why you can't find the literature and the information you need, honestly, for free. So the reason I talk dollars and cents and prices is not to brag at all. That has nothing to do with it. I'm trying to show you that you can do it. You can do it in phases. You can do it in steps. You don't have to go out and buy a $5,000 machine. I'm going to throw some pictures up here on the screen. Every picture you see is a second gen or first gen or second gen, which are about the same, comparable in price, 250R. And you look at the prices of these 250Rs. They vary from $3,900 all the way to, I think one of them was $9,000. Now that's a ton of money. I'm not saying that any of them are priced right, wrong, high, low, or indifferent. What I'm telling you is that that's what the market is for these machines right now. That's what they're asking for these machines. Somewhere in there is what they'll actually sell for. But you don't have to go out and buy one of those machines. You can drag home a derelict, forgotten, abandoned 250R. You put the time and sweat equity in it, you can have something nice. And that's what I'm hoping to show, that by telling you, just, you know, opening up the log here, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I spent on every part I put on it, and you're going to know exactly what I've got into this machine. And it's not going to be anywhere near those machines that I just flashed across the screen. And that's why I do it, to kind of encourage you to do your homework. You know, take your time and find the bike that you want to build. And then again, take your time a little bit more, because that's the trade-off. Is your time is the trade-off. Your sweat equity is the trade-off. Is you can get one of these machines and you can spend as much as you want on it or as little as you want on it. And the deciding factor is the time invested. You know, y'all probably aren't going to hit it as hard as I do. I've got a week to make a video, and so I'm hitting it pretty hard. But you don't have to do that. You can take your time and you can source your parts a little bit better than I do. And time is the equalizer. If you want to buy it today and ride tomorrow, it's going to cost you, for this machine, somewhere between $3,000 and honestly probably $5,000. So with all that being said, check it out. I mean, my goodness, that is an amazing machine. Now it's to the level. I had a guy, you know, he was like, oh, you put new fenders on an old machine. Yeah, I did. I had to find some, so I got fenders. But now is the time that you tear it apart. If you want to take it to that next level, if you want to take it to frame off, powder coating and polish and paint and chrome and all of that stuff, now is when, in the way I build a machine, now is when you do that. Now, a lot of guys, I told you before, they blow it apart as soon as they get it, and that's their way of doing it. For me, I want to know it's up, running, and dependable. That every system on this machine is working like it's supposed to. Front and rear brakes, lighting system, everything. It's working like it was meant to be. Now, if you want to take it to that next level, you can, if you want to blow it apart, or you can leave it just like this, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it just like this for a while. I may revisit this in a year or two and say, hey, you know, let's do a frame off, and this might be one I do. But for me, I can take it and enjoy it. I rode it today, I rode it yesterday. That's what it's all about. For me, it's not about tearing it apart and having it perfect again. That's just a different way of doing it. So we've got a long list of things. I actually had to get a little cheat sheet. I'll put it up on the screen as I rattle it off, and you can see it and you can compare it. Some of these products, you know, or you'll find links down in the description. You can check them out if you're needing them, if you're building one of these. I got to tell you, I love this machine. For me, I'm not a you know, tall fella. I'm about 6'1", 6'3", depending on the convenience store I'm walking in and out of. This machine is really a good size for me physically. It's the same size as a 200X. It's comparable in weight. It's just under 300 pounds. I think it's 29 horsepower, which sounds like nothing. You would laugh at that if you didn't ride it first. You know, if you didn't see one on the track or have one of these blow past you, you would go, there's no way. Well, that's what I thought too. I had to look it up today. 29 horsepower. So it's an amazing machine. They will last forever, and it's an investment of your time that you can take something like this that's just, you know, forgotten after all these years and bring it back. And we got lucky on this one. We really did. We got lucky that the carb was serviceable, so maybe hadn't thrown it away, because that can be very expensive. The engine was intact. We had spark. We got very lucky on the engine part of this. The interesting thing is everything else had been taken apart, had been touched. This particular machine, it was all external of the engine that it needed, and it needed everything. In contrast, the 350X, we did all the motor work on. Everything else was fine on that machine. Brakes, tires, axles, everything was great on that machine except the motor. So again, everything has got a trade-off to it. So let me get started. Let's see what this list is about, because it's a long one. 1984 ATC 250R, that's what we were working on. And so how this machine come to me was kind of a trade deal. I had a bunch of parts that I really didn't have a use for, but they had value. And that's another reason why I deal in Hondas 99% of the time, is because Honda's parts, machines hold their value better than probably any other off-road vehicle out there, especially the sport machines. Your 350Xs, your 250Rs, those parts are coveted and they're sought after, and that swings both ways. When you're building one of these, expect to pay up. The parts are going to be more expensive for this than a 110. So let's just go down the list. I got brand new Maier rear fenders, 280, found them on eBay. They make a cheaper version. They're not Maier specific. You can look into that if you want. Again, the Maier is a proven product, and everybody likes it, and so I like it too. Put a clutch in this, EBC clutch, $60. EBC springs, heavy duty springs, $21. The brake lines were $30, and that came with a few other odds and ends. Rear master cylinder, I had to have one of those. This is a direct fit. You'll find a link for that down in the description. It bolted on perfect, no modifications, nothing. The master cylinder is great. And I say that because there's a lot of master cylinders out there that the bolt spacing is not correct, and they won't fit up. They won't bolt up like they're supposed to. I went with a Uni air filter, $26.50. We got a new chain, $47. We got sprockets that came with that chain. That was kind of a kit. We got a new carrier. This carrier, I busted it taking it out. It's the first time that's ever happened. $85. Now, it's an aftermarket carrier, is not an OE carrier, but it came loaded. It already had bearings in it, and it slid right in. We put front bearings in a front wheel. We put rear tires for $73, y'all. 2 tires, $73. Amazon, I know that they're cheap tires, and they're 18s, and they're too small. But I wanted to try something, and so now I've tried it, and I can move on. They slide great. So if you ever get a set of 18s, turf tires like that, or some Hoosiers or something, wow, they slide. Night and day difference. We put new brake pads on the front original OE master brake caliper. We got a front tire. That's one of those Kenda slots. I put them on just about everything. It's not that I love them. There's really just not a lot of options out there in the 23.5 inch size by 11. We got a front fender, and that was actually from Preston at This Old Trike. Y'all know him. And so I put a sticker there on the fender. He's a good friend of mine. He had this fender, and so he was gracious and nice enough to send it to me. Preston, I appreciate it, sir. We got a carb kit. Y'all know where that came from. 223 Cycles Curtie. I appreciate your support. And the carb kit was great. That thing runs and idles. It's perfect. Carb was in good shape. But a good kit is always worth the time to put it in. You know, you're not taking any chances. You know it's right. We ended up putting a clutch and throttle cable. This machine, the cables were just trash, so they were just rusted up like crazy. So $25 Go Motion Pro, just your basic, eBay replacements, nothing fancy. So here's where we're going to get some specifics. I paid $50 for the 2 seat brackets to hold the front of the seat and fender assembly. Now that's a great price for 2 brackets. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but they're hard to find. So you got to be diligent about that. I told the story on how I found those brackets in the previous video. I ended up having to get a specific rear brake caliper bracket. That bracket was taken off this machine. The long strut that keeps the caliper from moving, all of that was missing. All of that is very specific to this model 250R. Another one of those things. You gotta have it. It's $200. So that said, that brings us to a grand total of parts, and that's really it parts wise. Parts was $11.71. Oh, I did forget some stuff. Sorry. We have $65 for handlebars, OE Honda grips, and this is new for me, but I really do like them. I put bar ends on the bars, and that's to make sure that the grips, because these are Tusk handlebars, they did not, they don't have the screw end to keep the grips on. So I went with bar ends. They expand inside the 7/8 handlebar. Handlebars, learned a lot. If you've never purchased handlebars before, let me give you a real quick lesson. There's about 400 different kinds of handlebars out there. And so what these are, what I did is I went and I set on a couple of different machines, and I realized real quick that the offset, or the rollback is what it's called, varies between handlebars. The rotation of your wrist varies between manufacturers and handlebars. They have different names for these depending on if it's going on a motorcycle or ATV, a 3-wheeler, whatever you're putting it on. There's different ones. They are the same width as an 86 ATC 250R. They're 32 3/4 end to end. I like that. That's what I like about the 86 so much. I really like the handlebars. The droop between the top of the handlebar and where they bolt up is 6.5 inches, which is also very close to the 250R 86. This bike has a completely different feel. Remember last video I rode it and I told y'all that I didn't like it, and that's because the handlebars were actually 3 inches narrower, and they were angled, tapered in, which brought my elbows in, and so I drove like this. It was not comfortable at all. And so handlebars were a must. One, they were really bent bad, which that's a safety thing. Once a handlebar is bent to the point where the paint has come off and rust is set in, you probably don't need to be riding it. I had a couple people call me out on straightening them out. I knew what I was doing, and I was doing it for a video, and I probably should have kind of put a disclaimer out there that that's not the right way to do it. Safety I do not take lightly. So we got bars on here, and that's one of the bigger reasons from a safety standpoint. Secondly, it's for comfort. So we got all new across the top bars, transferred over the same levers and controls as we had before. They're all original OE to the machine. The lever, that is a new master cylinder, which we spoke of. It's already on the list. So all that being said, $11.71 in parts. I know that's a lot, and you go, well, my goodness, what do you got in that thing? Well, here's where we come into this. So I told you I traded a lot of parts to get this machine. So the original price on this machine was $1,400, and that included the extra engine. And so I was able to trade down $700 worth of parts, and I went off and sold some other parts, and I actually got my purchase price down to $500 cash. So I got $500 cash and some parts that I honestly did not foresee using in the near future. So we got $500 cash. We had $900 worth of parts and selling off of other parts. Brings us to a grand total of $1,806. So $1,806 is what we have in it. I still have the extra engine and wiring harness that we didn't need. And so the reason I ponied up and bought that extra engine is because I didn't know if we were going to need it or not. And I would rather have those parts in-house to where I am today. Today, I can turn around and sell that engine, and I can recoup back at least what I paid for it, which I paid about $400 for that motor. Brings me a grand total in this machine, $1,406. Now, I do have to give a special shout out. Andy, thank you very much. I had a subscriber reach out to me after the last video, and he had the vintage number plate, and I got to tell you where the number itself came from. So I had to make this video today, and I didn't have any numbers to go on my number plate, and so I went to the dollar store. I don't know if y'all have those where you're at, but we have the dollar store. And those red letters, that number 73, is actually a cutting board that happens to be red. They actually had red and white cutting board. And looking at it now, the white probably would have stood out better. But yeah, I just sat down in front of the TV last night and I drew out my number. I cut it out with a jigsaw. I drilled some holes in it and I zip tied it on there with some red zip ties. So check that out. That's how you make numbers, you know, when you can't order them. But I just want to share with you that you don't have to go buy a $5,000 machine to have a lot of fun. If you're willing to learn and put in the sweat equity, you can build something like this. When I bought this machine, I was like, okay, guy wants $1,400 for it. I can double that, $2,800, and still be cheaper than the cheapest machine for sale on Marketplace right now. And I'll know what I have. I'll know that I'll have new brakes. I'll know that my motor will be running. I'll know that I'll have new chain and sprockets and tires and all of those things. Whereas if you go and you spend that $4 grand or $3 grand or $3,500 or whatever on somebody else's three-wheeler, four-wheeler, you don't know what you're getting until you get it home. This way, I knew what I had. I had a bucket of bolts when I got it home, and I really couldn't see going any lower than that. You know, even if we'd have had to put a top in or rebuilt the motor, worst case scenario would have been a transmission problem. And so that's why I picked up the other extra engine, because if we needed those, if we needed a shift fork or synchronizer or some odds and ends piece like that, we'd have it in-house, we could fix it, and we'd be up and running. So that's kind of an example of buying maybe a little more up front than you really need. And trust me, it was a lot to spend that extra on the engine. I really kind of just wanted to buy the machine and go on my way. But I knew tracking down these parts was going to be difficult, and I did not want to run into a problem of not having a part to finish my machine. And so that's it. We're going to put it on the track here in a couple minutes. And I thank you for listening and watching. I hope this encourages you and shows you that you can do this. It's not that hard. The information's there. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. There's no reason not to. y'all. Well, y'all saw the lap. Y'all saw that second lap was a little sketchy. I missed a corner. Did y'all catch that? Yeah, I missed it. I was positioned wrong. I missed the brake with my foot. I will tell you that the brake pedal on this is a little closer in than I'm used to. And when I went to hit that rear brake, I didn't hit anything. And so I had a couple of seconds to either reattempt that rear brake or just shoot past the corner. So luckily I saw an opening. I shot past the corner. I missed the fence in the tree. It's halfway through the second lap. If it's about 22 seconds. That's about the halfway point I'm learning on the track. So track record, bobbled in the second lap, and on the third lap laid down a 38.01. New track record right there. It's faster with me driving it than a 350X or the 86 250R. It's faster than the 200X, and it all comes down to driver. I'm sure a lot of y'all could come over with your 250Rs and your 350Xs and smoke me on my own track, and that's okay. You know, it's not about that. But I've improved, I've bettered myself, I'm getting better. I believe the machine had a lot to do with it this time. This machine is fast. I mean, it really is. When I put the right size tires on here, I wouldn't be surprised if the top end on this thing wouldn't 55 or 60 miles an hour. I mean, it feels like it'll get up and go. Right now, it's really suffering for them back tires.
Tires is what wins a race. Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
When you hear that long straightaway, I'm literally in fifth gear halfway down it. I come out of that second turn, I'm shifting from third to fourth, I'm going into fifth, halfway down that back straightaway, and she's just screaming. And so I think a taller tire, she would really get some miles per hour underneath her. But yeah, just I can't say enough good things about it. It's been a fun build. It's been an interesting build. Next time you see this, it'll probably just be a riding video or something. Who knows? May put it up on the shelf. I hear that's real popular these days. But anyways, I'm gonna tell you, if it's not my favorite, it's second. It's second. I'm really a big fan of the Code Red. I like that machine. I like a 4-stroke. It's a little quieter. I'm sure the neighbors like the Code Red a little bit better. But this bike has a great look about it. It rides really, really good. I think I spent the money in the right places to get the most out of what this machine offers. Like I said, you know, it came with a great tank. It came with a new seat already redone. That is so much of the value of a machine. You know, when y'all say, wow, he paid $1,000 for this thing. Yeah, he did. But look what he got. I got a $300 tank and I got a $250, $300 seat. So once you take those two parts out, all of a sudden you see that I didn't spend that much on the rest of it. Just a real fun machine to ride. And that's what it's about for me. Y'all know that this channel is about bringing them back from the dead and you know, getting new life out of them. Setting them up for the next person to come along. You know, hey, I might not have it that long, but the next guy or gal that gets this thing, it's gonna live on like it's supposed to. You know, that's what it's about. That's what it's about, is enjoying them. And I appreciate y'all watching. I really do. I hope I encourage you to get out and do whatever it is that you like to do. There's gonna come a time when you can't. And I can't stress how important it is that you do it while you can. So as always, y'all take care. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night.